Um, Last week on Wednesday, I was talking about an overview of the 37 factors of enlightenment. And I mentioned that these 37 factors of enlightenment, they are, in the stage of development, not in the ordinary stage. And that is important for us to understand, because sometimes devotees tend to, sometimes they dilute these factors, these 37 factors, into the ordinary everyday life thing, which is, as I said, this is not meant for ordinary everyday life. It's meant for during when you are in the stage of mental development. Now, in these 37 factors of enlightenment also, that actually, when we want to develop all these factors of enlightenment, we begin by that in the practical sense. In the practical sense, we begin with the four foundations of mindfulness, or the four satipatthana. This is the practice. When the four foundation of mindfulness is developed, then the seven factors of enlightenment, the five hindrances, the iddhipada, everything will fall into place. So we also have to know when to start when the practical aspect of it. Some people that I heard now, they want to develop the let's say 7 factors of enlightenment. I want to develop 7 factors of enlightenment, but they do not know where to start. They do not know where to start. They do not know how to go into it. So you just cannot simply, I want this, you can just develop that. You cannot just develop 5 faculties or 5 spiritual powers anytime you like, No, it is in the sense that you have to come into the satipatthana, then everything will fall into place. So that's why the 4 foundation of mindfulness, the talk and also the practice are essential for this development. Okay. Now, also I also said that throughout these coming weeks, we're going to look into the 5 spiritual faculties and also the 5 spiritual powers, the Panchindriyani and also the Panchabala. We're going to look into the theory aspect and also the practical aspect also. If you don't only know the theory aspect, then next time when you really need to use it, then you do not know what to do. So we need the practical aspect of it. And the practical aspect of it, it is really important. And that one, it comes with experience, a direct experience, not from the reading of the books and just listen to the talks. So my talks here, the coming talks, it will guide you. When you come to the time when you need to so-called balance them, then you know what to do. You know what to look out for. Like for example, when you have a problem of thinking is coming in, a lot of thinking coming in, then what you should do during this time? Or thinking of mentally become too quiet, nice, pleasant, what you should do during this time? How are you going to rebalance the mind again? So a number of things we're going to look into them. So in the beginning part, we look into the theory aspect, and then we're going to go into all these things. And it will take a number of talks, not just only today's talk. Today's talk is more of give you an overview of these 5 hindrances, not 5 hindrances, 5 faculties and the 5 powers, 5 controlling faculties and the 5 powers. We're going to look into it a little bit more. Now, what else? Okay, let me share the screen. Okay. Okay, can you all see? Okay, yeah, okay. Now, these 5 controlling faculties, or 5 spiritual faculties and the 5 powers, the 2 words is pancha indriya, and you combine it is pachindriyani, and you have the pancha balani, 5 spiritual faculties and the 5 powers. Now, in this 5 spiritual faculties and 5 powers, they having the same components. So you have this conviction of faith, then you have effort, you have mindfulness, you have concentration, and you have wisdom. So in the 37 factors of enlightenment, then because of 5 and 5, then they become 10. They become 10. Okay? Now, in these 5 spiritual faculties and 5 powers, they are, as I said, that they are not for the everyday life. They are meant, especially when you are in the stage of satipatthana or specifically on the vipassana. When you are doing samatha meditation, okay, when you are doing samatha meditation, there is also a certain degree of balancing. If there is no balancing, you cannot attain the jhana also. There must be a certain degree of balancing there. But if you practice samatha for the sake of jhana only, and you're not doing it for enlightenment, then it is not a spiritual faculty, or it is not a powers, or it's not a controlling faculty, or it's not a controlling powers, because these 37 factors of enlightenment is for enlightenment, not for jhana, right? But if you practice this samatha meditation and with the intention you want to switch over to vipassana later on, then it is a faculty, because those things, it helps you to step further into the mental development. Okay, for example, like those time before the Buddha arises, there's no enlightenment yet, and people can still practice a lot of this samatha, and that time they have to come to the stage of mind where they are balanced, where they are properly in the stage of balance, in order to able to see the jhana. If the mind is not in a balance, for example, if the mind becomes too soft, becomes too concentrated and too calm, and there's nothing much there, then they can't even take up the samatha object. They can't take up the samatha object, and therefore, when the samatha object is not seen properly, whether it's nimitta or not, then their path is stopped. Their path will be stopped, and they cannot progress anymore further. So they need to rebalance the mind again. So during the samatha practice also, this balancing also is as equally as important as during in the vipassana. There's no such thing as you practice samatha meditation and then you don't care about all this balancing. No, you cannot. The balancing also must be there. Okay? But of course, it is, as I said again, they are not called as under the 37 factors of enlightenment if you're not using it for enlightenment purpose. So this one. The saddha here, the conviction or the faith here, sometimes the faith is not a very good word, because for a lot of time we tend to corrupt the word faith. But many of the Dhamma books that we we use it, they use the word faith. They use the word faith. Usually it's more, there's no equivalent for English part of it, because this part here, the faith here, is a wholesome part, whereas in the worldly sense, it can be unwholesome also. It can be unwholesome. So sometimes you use the word conviction, sometimes you can use the word confidence also. Number two here is this effort. Although it's called effort here, but it's more of not the samma padana. Like last week I showed you the four samma padana. Padana here means striving, which is also similarly with the four great efforts. Like you found, yet you can be found in the Noble Eightfold Path under the right effort. And here, this effort here is a strong effort. It's not just ordinary, everyday, mental effort or physical effort. Here is really a strong mental effort here. So too with mindfulness. And mindfulness, when it comes in, it's come in as a strong mindfulness. Continuous mindfulness. Shortly later, we're going to look into it a little bit more. Now, concentration here. Sometimes people use the word samadhi as calm or collectedness or unification of mind. Sometimes there are monks or some teachers, they try to avoid the word concentration when it's connected with samadhi. Because when you use the word concentration, they kind of like you're focus until, it's exactly when you begin unbalance, all the headache and all the tension and all the pulling of the head all start coming in. So they like to use other words like more calm, which also a kind of samadhi. Sama here means like, in a word that it is calm, it's not like agitated. It's just like water. When you go into the river or in the sea, when there's no wind, nothing, you see the sea is so calm, nothing. Or a cup of water, then there's no ripples, nothing. Everything is calm, something like that. Sama, in the Malay word, concentration. Even, that's what sama. So when it comes to wisdom here, then the wisdom has this discernment factor. And you have the discernment factor. So it knows how to penetrate. It knows how to be thorough and so on. This is the wisdom. This is not the wisdom of the intelligent type or the thinking type. When we come to spiritual faculties, the wisdom is more deeper, rather, not just on the thinking part or the hearing part. Now, now here, we're going to look into it something more. Now, here the faculties here, it means here it's a governing or controlling in their respective domains. Whereas powers is the unshakable by their opposite, which is unshakable by the defilements or the hindrances. Okay? Now, what do you mean by governing or controlling their respective domain? Now, if you want to know about this a little bit more, let me stop this sharing. Then we go on to another one. Okay, this is on the requisites of enlightenment. Okay, can you all see? Okay, this is the requisites of enlightenment. Okay, this is by Lady Sayadaw. Lady Sayadaw. If you want to read more, of course, you can go and you just type the requisites of enlightenment, Lady Sayadaw, and you download it. It'll tell you a lot of things, but it didn't tell you the practical aspect of it. It doesn't tell you come there, but it tell you the theoretical aspect of it. That is also important. Both also is important. Now the word Indriya, Indasa Kamang Indriyang. This is a simple Pali word. Inda means ruler or a king. Kamang is an act of ruling by a king is called Indriya. The act of ruling or the act of controlling by rulers or by kings. Sometimes they use the word Inda for Sakadeva Raja also. Inda. So, what does it mean here? What does it mean? Whereas the 5 controlling faculties, let me scroll down a little bit. You see? Okay. The next, let me scroll down a little bit. Okay. 5 mental powers. Okay, can you see? Okay, make it bigger a little bit. Okay. The 5 mental powers are thus called, they overpower opposing mental states, or as commentary explained, they are powerful in the sense of being unshaken by opposition. So too the same faculty here, the same components when it comes to the 5 this one. Okay. Now these 5 faculties and 5 mental powers, they, a lot of time the meditator have confusion about what is the difference between one to another. Every now and then, I get this question also. Not only you send me this question, but in the past when I was starting meditating also, I sent this question to Sayadaw U Pandita also, the late Sayadaw U Pandita, and he explained that thing too. That time when he explained also, sometimes I think the translator, I think the translator was not very good. Then I don't know what English is talking about. Then, but later on, I understand what it meant. Later on, I understand what it meant. Sometimes, you go into Burma, the English translation is a bit difficult. So too, like sometimes you try to meditate something, then you translate it to the translator. Translator go to the Sayadaw or go to the teacher, come back. It's totally not connected to what you are talking about. And sometimes the teacher speaks so much. The translator speak about one or two words or few words only, and that's it. Or the opposite is that you can speak so much, the translators or the teacher speak a little, then the translator stretch it, put into their own thoughts and own thinking also into it. Sometimes like that. Anyway, I come back. Okay, now these 5 now these 5 spiritual faculties and these 5 powers, as I said, they are the same, this one, but they function differently. They function differently. So governing or controlling their respective domain and unshakable by their opposites. Now, unshakable by their opposite, what it means here is that when let's say your mindfulness when it's strong, let's say your mindfulness is strong. When your mindfulness is strong, it doesn't go into like negligence. For example, in the sense of like you forget about your meditation object. Say, for example, that you are meditating, your rising, falling is very clear, it's changing very well, it's changing, things are going on. And then suddenly, like, you got some songs coming into when you start hearing songs, then you forget about your meditation object, then you go into enjoying the song. And that is called that at this time, your mindfulness cannot be unshaken by this type of songs and this type of whatever that is coming in, then you forget about your meditation object. This is what I mean. It cannot be unshaken. Or you have, when you have an effort here, that it cannot be unshaken by what? It cannot be unshaken by your laziness or your drowsiness. How many times when you are practicing, all your drowsiness is there. A little bit come in, you don't even realize it, it takes over. But when the power is powerful, when the effort is powerful, as power, it cannot be overcome by the opposite. Something like that. Now, what do you mean by governing or controlling their respective domain? What is the domain here? What is their respective domain? Now, take again like mindfulness. Mindfulness here, when it is strong, it keeps the mind in the present moment. That means it keeps the mind at the present moment. It's not concentration, but it keeps the mind in the present moment, Just now, like for example, I gave you the example when the song come in, it doesn't mean that he doesn't know the song, It's not that he doesn't mean that he doesn't know. He knows the song that is coming in, but he does not go to the song. He stays with the rising and falling or the object of his meditation. Doesn't mean he doesn't know. There's an awareness of it. There's a clear awareness of it, but it doesn't fall into it. That is a different. So when the mindfulness as a part, as a governing, that means it keeps the mindfulness, it keeps the mind in the present. Mindfulness doesn't do the work of wisdom. Mindfulness doesn't do the work of wisdom. Whereas when it comes into the governing faculty of wisdom, that means that the mind is penetrating, is scrutinizing the object. Whether the rising, falling, is it long, is it short, is it fast, is it slow, is it go this way, go that way, is it arising, is passing away, or your breath is long, short, or warm, or is it cold, or in this way, it discerning the whole thing. It is discerning the whole thing. It doesn't do the function of. It doesn't do the function of mindfulness. Mindfulness is to bring the mind close to the object. The mindfulness brings the mind close to the object, but the wisdom is the one who scrutinizes the object. There is a difference there. So governing, that means it do its job. It do its job, and when they all come together, when all these five come together, that is called the noting mind. When you use this mind to note an object. So concentration will do its function, mindfulness will do its function, effort will do its function, faith or kasada will do its function. So I'll give you another example, a more easier example, between the difference between faculties and power. Take for example, like you are driving a car. For example, you are driving a car. When you drive the car, you step on the accelerator, the car go forward. And the car go forward, and you have the steering wheel, and you have the wheel to direct you to where you want to go, right? But then, so too, the car also, it has the window and it got its body. And those body is to prevent you from getting the wind, or the strong wind is coming in, and also it protect you from like stones coming in, or from the snow or rain, or whatever. Sometimes you drive, and then you may hit the insects or everything on the windscreen, right? It doesn't hit you. So the same thing when you drive a car, although everything is going forward, There's also protection also. So the faculties and powers, they work together the same way. When you are noting the object, when you know you're scrutinizing, you're mindful of the object, at the same time also, these defilements cannot come in and disturb your meditation, disturb your noting mind. It doesn't come in to wreck and get rid of. It makes your mind become weak. Now, this state of mind, when it becomes strong, when it becomes powerful, when it becomes strong, you only see them when you actually go into a more deeper aspect of meditation. If you are just in the beginning part of the meditation, then you may not see this. You may not see this much. And most of the time is that you will see is that you have a lot of sleepiness. Or when you don't have sleepiness, you have a lot of thinking. And the thinking comes in as doubt. Thinking also comes in as just random thinking. Thinking comes in as anger. Thinking together with our essential desire. It's just so much. It's just so much that you sometimes you give up. But if you don't keep on pushing, if you don't keep on trying, then you will not see it as a faculty. You don't see when the mind has that power, and when the faculties are strong, it can drive the mind forward. Just like when your engine is strong, it can go forward in a very smooth manner. When your car is having like the sometimes you sit in an expensive car like a Mercedes or like or Bentley or a Volvo, a Bentley or a Rolls Royce. You sit down there, everything very quiet. You don't hear much noise, outside noise. But if you buy the cheap car, like your Proton or your this one, everybody horn also you can hear. Even all your windows all pull up, everything also you still can hear. Whereas in the early days, when first time I sat on a BMW, somebody was driving me from Penang to KL. Then I thought, how come he's driving so slow? How come he's driving so slow? Then when I look at the speedometer or the odometer here, or the speedometer here, it's already going at 150 kilometers an hour. But inside there, you don't feel anything. It's so comfortable, nothing. How come it's so slow? Because when you are driving your old Proton, and when you reach up to 110 and 120, your steering wheel starts to shake already. Whereas when you use an expensive car, you feel nothing. So too, when the same thing, when your faculties are strong, when the mindfulness are strong, it goes very smoothly. As if like things are going very well, and everything that comes into your noting mind, whereas the heart pain, strong pain, changing pain, that time your mind is not reacting towards it. Your mind is just observing it, accepting it, and scrutinizing what is really going on with the pain. Not like in the past, when your pain comes in, Bante, cannot Bante, you ask your mother to come and help you, you ask Angkong Simbing to come and help you, you ask whatever to come and help you in your pain, you ask your Datuk Nene also, whatever, to come and help you. Why? Not that you still can note, you can still note some pain, but you still have a hard time dealing with the pain because the faculties are not strong. There are some faculties there, the noting mind is there, not to say you don't have, but you're still struggling. But when the faculties are strong, when you go into the deeper aspect of it, the pain still there, still strong, but you are not affected by it. The mind is even the mind can balance, the mind can watch it very clearly. Just like when you're sitting on a very expensive car and then it goes forward very nicely. So too when you have the expensive car, the soundproofing is very good. You don't hear much of a noise, you don't hear this and you don't hear that so much. Inside there, you even from behind, you talk to the front, you talk to the behind, you can hear things very well, very clearly. So too is the same. So this is the difference between faculties and the powers, pancha indriyani, pachindriyani, and also this one. Now, now there are some teachers. Some teachers says that the 5 powers are higher or stronger or more developed than the 5 faculties. This is no. This is wrong. This is cannot. This is not right. Because the difference between faculties and powers is commented in the commentaries. Commented in the commentaries. And again here, when it says the 5 faculties, 5 powers, as which one is the 5 powers are higher or stronger or more developed than the 5 faculties, then when it comes to enlightenment stage, now whether the commentaries is true or not, whether they are different in their ways or whether they are higher or stronger in their ways. Because some teachers says that one is higher than this one. Now, when the enlightenment occurs, the faculties are still involved. The faculties are still involved. After enlightenment, that means, let's say after the first stage first stage as in Sotapanna, even after the first stage, after that you still use the 5 faculties because you have to drive the mind forward. The faculties are still being used. The 5 powers are still being used. Therefore, when it comes to the practical aspect of it, the 5 faculties and the 5 powers, they still stand. The explanation still stand. Not as an explanation of 5 powers is higher or stronger or more well developed than the 5 faculties. This is a big difference, because as much as you can go and debate in the theory aspect of it, then the most important is that when the time comes to the experience part of it, and then you see whether they are still in the stage of whether they're still there or not there, whether one is more powerful or whether they are still different. So when it comes to the time of enlightenment, and after enlightenment also, you're still using the 5 faculties and you're still using the 5 powers. That means the car is still moving forward and the car is still protecting you in that sense. You cannot the car has stopped but the car still protect you. Cannot. Both have go together. Or the car is going forward but you've got no protection. All the rain coming, the stones coming and everything, you also will collapse. Cannot. Both have to go together. Both of it have to go together. So when it comes to even in the stage of enlightenment, or after the first stage of sainthood, or first stage of enlightenment, then it's still there. Now, what about after arahantship? What about after arahantship? Does the 5 faculties and the 5 powers still there? Think about it while I drink. So, still there or not? The five faculties and the five powers. Yeah. Of course, they are still there. Yeah. This is not hindrances, Hindrances is no more there because they are defilements. They are no more there. Yeah. But even after one gain an arahantship, still there. The powers and this one still there. Yeah. Whenever the arahant meditates, whenever the arahants meditate, you see, even for an arahant, even for an arahant, the five faculties can still go into imbalance. They are, because these five faculties, they still subjected to the law of impermanence. They are still subjected to the law of impermanence, therefore they still change. Therefore, that means that they can go more and go less. Yeah. Whereas when it comes to five spiritual powers, it's like you don't have the enemy anymore. You don't have all the defilements anymore. It's just like you have a strong castle. There's no enemy in front of you anymore. All the enemies is all eliminated, all gone. Yeah. But still there. But the five powers is still there. In the sense that the car is still strong and is still powerful. The castle is still strong and still standing. Yeah. But they don't have any more enemies. So they don't have to worry about the opposite, like the defilements. But whereas the faculties, the arahants still need to maintain a balance when it comes to meditation. When it comes to the time of meditation, but they can able to bring it to state of balance in a very much more faster than all of us because they don't have defilements. One thing, but the mind can still go into imbalance. Now, take for example, sometimes in the suttas also I read in the past that after the Buddha gave a Dhamma talk, gave an extended Dhamma talk. And then after that, he needs to calm the mind down. He still needs to calm the mind down because the mind has come into a bit of activeness already. It comes to a bit of activeness. He still need to calm the mind when he wants to meditate. He goes into jhana, he goes into meditation in order to calm the mind. They still need to do that. Even for arahant and so on, even in the Visuddhimagga mentioned that if an arahant wants to go into his pala samapatti, that is to say the absorption in the friction, pala samapatti. You want to absorb in this one, he also needs to go into meditation. He cannot doing other things. For example, go into pindabat, go into sweeping, doing the building works and so on. When he's tired and so on, he wants to go into this pala samadhi at the with a flick of you cannot. He has to go into meditation to bring the mind into balance, and when the mind balance, then only he can go into pala samapatti, the absorption, like a jhana-like absorption, like that. So here the five faculties you still need to involve even in the arahantship, but for five spiritual powers, you don't have to worry about, because again, as I said, there's no defilements, there's no opposite anymore to harm you. So it is still important. So as I said, these are. Wait, I go back to the sharing of screen. As I said, that some teachers say that these five powers, higher, stronger, is not right. As I said, this is not right because in the theory, in the commentaries, it mentioned that faculties and powers, they have two different ways of doing it. And also, when it comes to the practical level, the five faculties also is still there. five powers still there. So 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 when you say five powers are higher, that is that is not agreeable. Not agreeable to me. Now again here, as I said this just now earlier on, I mentioned this five they are mentally developed type of faculties and also power, and not the ordinary type. Ordinary type we're going to see later on in the other talks. We're going to divide the ordinary and also in the more developed type, to understand that there are a separation between these five faculties. Your faith can be ordinary, your faith can be developed. Your effort can be ordinary, your faith can be developed. So we are looking into the everyday, we are looking into the developed type. But in order for you to understand the developed type, you also need to understand what is ordinary type also. Because if you don't able to differentiate these both things, then a lot of times the yogis or the meditator will use the wrong one or the unsuitable one, because they don't realize that it is wrong. So it is important that you, as a meditator, you know which one did you need to use at that particular time and what not to use during the time when you are meditating. That is important. So to give you the mentally developed type is here, it means that when you are in the stage of mental development, not in the stage of everyday type of meditation. Here, faculties, where does it start as a faculty and where does it start as a faculty and where is just ordinary? When it starts as a faculty, I think you can draw the line. You can draw the line when you begin the first stage of insight. When you begin the first stage of insight, because the nama rupa parichedanyana, it is where your if you are doing vipassana, that is where your faculties start in the sense of you're going to use those things for the enlightenment already. Whereas before that, when you're struggling, when you're completely new beginner, then that mindfulness is not strong. It's still very ordinary. That means it also means that the everyday meditation that you go through, some of you perhaps you have meditated for some time, but then you haven't gone to a retreat. You haven't touched a retreat yet. And also you haven't touched the first stage of enlightenment. Although you may be practicing for 5 years, 10 years or so, you are still hasn't got passed through yet. So sometimes people thought that, what meditate what meditate jinaku I meditate so long already. Hey, when you meditate 30 years ago? No, sorry. When do you meditate? 5 years ago. I meditate 30 or 40 or 50 years already, whole tapi inside there all empty one. No retreat, nothing. Just every day sit down there, rising, falling a little bit. Every day like that. Not to say it's no good now, but you haven't come to the stage of faculty and you haven't really seen the deeper aspect of it. It's still a good effort, It's still a good effort, not to say it's not a good effort. But that effort is not come to a level of Pachindriya and also Panchapala. So you haven't come to that stage yet. So here you need to able to push until at least to the first, insight knowledge, when you're able to discern the nama rupa parichita jnana, somewhere around there, where there are really faculties begin to become faculty. But nevertheless, even you have this first stage of insight also, your thinking will still come in. Your sleepiness will still come in. Doesn't mean that you don't have, but at least there's a window period that your mind is clear. There's a longer window period when the mind is clear, then he can able to notice what is really going on. Then he can able to see what is going on. And then other times, sleepy again, thinking again, desire again, lust again. All kinds of things will still keep coming in. But again, you try. Oh, there's a window period. Oh, it becomes strong. In the practical sense of it, if, for example, if you go to a meditation retreat, a whole day meditation retreat, that you have to do 6 sittings per day. Let's say you have to do 6 sittings per day. First, or maybe 5 sittings is going into a lot of thinking and so on. Maybe 1 sitting, then only is clear. That's what I mean by a window period, that you can able to see something. The 5 is all sleepy, thinking nonsense, don't know what. That is what yogis go through. When in the beginning part of their practice, it's not like every sitting is all clear. Many of the sittings are not clear. So too the walking also the same thing. Usually walking is clearer. Because you have to move. The body has to move. So anyway, here when it says the developed type, that means you already come into some degree of insight, and not just ordinary type. So don't think of it as just having a little bit of meditation here and there, then, oh, I'm having faculties. And also another thing is that when we say this as a faculty, you cannot use this word faculty that using it for your, last week I said that you are in the kitchen and then you chop your vegetable, chop. Oh, I'm present here. Oh, I'm having a faculty of mindfulness. That one cannot. It's just ordinary mindfulness. Yes. But it's not a faculty of mindfulness. You cannot say that you are just, when you are not in the stage of meditation, you are just being aware, being mindful, you are just like sitting here and then you close your eyes. Some people like to meditate now. Like, for example, they like to meditate, they sit down, they close their eyes, and then they feel all the thing around them, they feel, okay, right, what is happening right now? Oh, I can feel the sound of the fan, and I can feel the wind. I can hear somebody walking past. I can hear the dogs bark a bit far away. Oh, I'm in the present. Yes, you are in the present. Not to say that you are not in the present. You are in the present. At least your mind is not running here and there. You know what is happening. But this is not a faculty. This is just ordinary mindfulness. Ordinary mindfulness. So, the distinguishing of this mindfulness or this one, that nowadays, as I said, a lot of dilution. People dilute, devotees, even people dilute the teachings of the Buddha into the ordinary things. And also they bring, without they realizing it, they bring the spiritual faculty, all these requisites of enlightenment, that they dilute it to an ordinary everyday practice. They dilute it in the sense that they just no need to sit, no need to walk, just be aware, just be here in the present, just no need to push yourself. You want to do anything, you let you do. That is what we call diluting. Diluting. There's also like people there's also devotees I've met in the past. I've corresponded with them, not in the sense of verbally, but in the sense of emails and so on. Then there are groups of people, or at least there's one group of Abhidhamma scholars. They discuss everything about Abhidhamma. A lot on Abhidhamma. That's almost about 20 years ago. I discussed with them, and these people, they says that all your mindfulness must not come in through your walking meditation or sitting meditation. If you come in with your walking and sitting meditation, this is all self already, atta already, because this is I want to do the meditation. I want to have the mindfulness. I want to have this and I want to have that. So therefore, you cannot meditate. You must not meditate. You must not do the sitting. You must not do the walking. You must just let the mindfulness come. Then only the mindfulness, when it comes in that way, then it is not connected with atta. It is not connected with self or a soul. This is how even Abhidhamma scholars can interpret the whole Dhamma upside down. Not to say if you don't have a proper understanding of it, you think that if I sit here, I purposely want to do if I purposely want to do, then make myself then because if you think like that, then mindfulness is not going to come in. Or even ordinary mindfulness is not going to come in. Not only talking about faculties. Ordinary mindfulness also not going to come in. So after that, I tell them, no, you must not think it in this way. You must look it in another way, and so on. They won't budge. They're very firm about not meditating, although they are Abhidhamma scholars. You see? So as I said, many times, if you have a theory, it doesn't mean that your idea is totally right. So, it needs to be practiced. Don't worry about the self and so on. Just like last week also, the fact that there's one talk about you. One of the question is that you're afraid of going back thinking about your own good deeds that you have done because you're afraid that it's connected with the ego there. That's one of the questions, which actually that you don't have to worry about it. You have to purposely think about the action if you can remember. Of course, there's many good actions that we have done. We may not able to remember everything, but we may remember some of the thing. So if you remember something, draw it out into the present context, in the present image, then you feel happy about it. And that is very good. This one is more of a recollection of a generosity. Like last week or the week before that, we talked about recollection of a generosity. You recall back your wholesome actions that you have done. You recall back your generosity, then you remember about it, then your happiness comes in, your joy comes in, and then that joy comes in, it gives you the clarity of the mind. So here, right? Also, last week also, on the last question, talking about unity. You're talking about unity, about whether you have Mahasi, non-Mahasi method, you have this method or that method, or you have those people who have suttas, those people who have sutta and Vinaya but do not want Abhidhamma. There are those people who have sutta and Vinaya but not the Abhidhamma. And also no commentaries and so on. Those type of. So how are you going to have unity and how are you going to move forward? But so far, that day also I felt that maybe I don't have much time to able to explain so much, because that was the last question already. But in summary, as I said, you don't have to worry about them. what method that they are doing, and so on. What is important, whatever method that you are doing right now in the present context, I said you develop it the best. When I say developing the best, means that whether they have the 37 factors of enlightenment inside your practice or not. When you develop the 37 factors of enlightenment as much as you can, then you don't worry about unity with others. What is important is that your unity with the Dhamma, not with the others. When you have unity with the Dhamma, that means you practice accordance to the Dhamma and you develop it as best as you can, starting with this 4 foundation of mindfulness. Then, that time, when your mind is going further and more developed, you will come to know yourself, those people who are practicing the same way as you. And when you have that, those people have the same way as you, you will come together. And physically, that time physically will come together. Nowadays, people, even sometimes Buddhists, they want to have a lot of unity because of, it looks good. I mean, yes, not to say that it doesn't look bad. But then below it, there's no unity in Dhamma. There's many people have different views, different things. So the whole unity is a very superficial unity. I mean, it's still good in a certain worldly sense. Not to say, I'm not saying that it's totally bad. But more noble, more deeper is that you must have unity with the Dhamma. It begins with yourself first. You have that unity with the Dhamma, you develop the Dhamma well, then you will see those people around you who also develop this one well. You become to know them, and then that time you can click together easily, like the right jigsaw puzzle, and you're going to click together already. Then that time it is that you are rolling the sasana, you're rolling the teachings of the Buddha further. Not just only physical, this one. So as I said, the best, you practice the best, that means you go into your 37 factors of enlightenment and you develop it as well as you can. Now, let's go back to the 5 faculties and the 5 powers. The next thing I want to discuss before we go, this one. Can see? Now, just now, as I said, that these faculties and this power, they have a 2 different function, 2 different way of doing things, although they share the same components. So this one to give you a bit more understanding, whereas you're going to describe this thing, all of this thing in the other talks, in the coming talks. But this give you a heads up for you to go further later on. Now the faith here, or the saddha here, or the conviction here, as a faculty, it comes in as a resolution. When the faculty becomes strong, the resolution here is another state of mind which is combined together with saddha, and it makes the mind clear. It makes the mind clear. As I said, that time you can able to chop all the lalang, when we have a piece of land and all the weeds is coming out, and you chop the lalang and you chop off all the weeds, then you can see things clearly. So here the resolution or the faith here, it clears your noting mind to be free from all kinds of things, especially as in the power as the skeptical doubt. No, there's no doubt, there's no thinking, there's nothing. Your mind is clear. Whereas the skeptical doubt here is that when your mind begins to doubt your practice, while you are noting the object, you begin to know, this objective, right or wrong. And then you already know, sometimes the mind is a bit of try to trick you. You know that skeptical doubt coming in already. The moment it comes in, you know it already pushed aside already. That means it cannot go further, the skeptical doubt that cannot go further, indecisiveness that you cannot go further. Because that time you're unsure, whether is this or is it not, and that time you put your faith is very clear about the object. Your clarity, your resolution on the object, meditation object is very clear. Effort here is the sense of exertion. Exertion here means it pushes the mind to keep the mind active. Active, what is being active? That means the faith is active. The resolution is active. The mindfulness is active. Wisdom is active. The concentration is active so that they can do their own function. It keeps them active. So here it keeps them active means that for example, it keeps the mindfulness to be continuous. It doesn't make the mindfulness become weak. So it keep on going. Laziness here, that means here the laziness starts to come in. That means the sloth and torpor starts to come in. This is not sleepiness type of sloth and torpor. This is just the mind just don't want to know. It's not the sleepy type, that's why the word is laziness, not the word is sleepiness. Whereas in the beginning part is, you can't see the word laziness that comes in. When it comes in, it's already sleepiness already. That means it's already strong already. Whereas laziness is the beginning part where the mind going to start going into sloth and torpor, going to laziness already, going to sleepiness already. So you can able to catch hold of that laziness, that the mind is like somewhat weakened already in a sense. It doesn't want to do the noting anymore. A little bit, maybe it give 80% only. 70% noting only. It's not really at the optimum level. It just this is what I mean, laziness here. That means the mind already see. That means here the power coming already. The power already stop it already. Mindfulness here is not just presence of mind, but it is a continuous presence. It's a firm continuous presence of mind, But the word Pali, sati, has two meanings, Even the beginning part of meditation, or beginning part of, if you're, as I say, ordinary type of sati, ordinary type of sati, you can use it as remembering, remembering your past events and your past everything. But when it comes to a faculty of sati, it's no more remembering about the past, it's about the presence of the mind firmly inside the presence, and it is not neglect its meditation object. Just now earlier on, as I mentioned, when it comes to negligence, that means it doesn't, the songs doesn't affect you, sound doesn't affect you. If it's just a little bit of itchiness, it doesn't affect you. Sometimes here you meditate a little bit itchy only, you cannot tahan anymore, you want to scratch already. Here, because you cannot be mindful of your main object, you already go into all kinds of object, and then after that, when you go with that object, if you go to other object like the sound or the itchiness, the sound here, if it's a beautiful sound, it's nice sound, then your desire comes in. If it goes into the itchiness, unpleasant for you, then your anger comes in, your aversion comes in. That's why it's called negligence. So here, the mindfulness can able to sustain on the presentness, and it does not being affected by all kinds of external things. Continuous present does not mean one object. Last week I mentioned, not last week, the week before that I mentioned, it's not about one object. It can be a multiple object, like as if like moving from one object to another object, but it's still within the scope of four foundation of mindfulness. Then when you put it in that way, then it's perfectly all right. Remember, it's not a single object. So when it comes to concentration, then the faculty is non-distraction or agitation. Non-distraction here. Here, for example, like when you are meditating, you're noting your object rising, falling. Sometimes some yogis, they notice that, hey, the thinking is coming at the background already. It's from the heart now. It's like coming up. Then that time you already knows it already. Then you know it already. Then the thinking already gone. Then you can still able to sustain on it. It doesn't come into full blown thinking. That means the beginning part of it, you already catch hold of it. That means the slight agitation of the mind starts coming in already. Then this concentration, this not awareness, this calm part of it is begin aware that the agitation is happening already. Concentration here, when it comes to the noting of the vipassana object, it doesn't mean that the object, everything is all calm and peaceful. It's the mind that it calms and peaceful, but the object that you are noting it can be like in a turmoil, The object can be changing very fast here and there, but your mind is calmly noting it. Doesn't mean that the object, everything is all calm, the mind also calm, everything calm, nothing is there. No, the object can be changing a lot. Now, wisdom factor here is the discerning factor. The Pali word dasana. Dasana sometimes is used to translate in English as seeing, to able to see. See what? It means to see the nama rupa. You can able to discern the nama rupa, the object of the nama rupa, and you can able to discern it carefully. Hard, soft, pulling, arising, passing away. Does it change this way, change that way, in whichever this way? Whereas delusion is kind of like quite not easy for us to detect. Delusion can come in, like for example, you're not arising and falling, but you don't want to note any more further. You just rise, fall, rise, fall, rise, fall. You're still mindful, You're still mindful. Rise, fall. And then I ask the yogi, hey, any more or not? Any got long or short or fast or slow, anything or not? Rise, fall, and nila. What is there? What else is there? And then that is called, you're mindful, but you're deluded. I mean, not to say, the delusion is not clear. That's why it's not, you think that you're doing right or no. So too, for example, this delusion, that at one time, this brother Dasana also, Venerable Dasana at that time, we were staying in Thailand at one time. He went to one temple, I went to another temple, and then after that we met again in another temple. So when he went to the temple, also a Vipassana practice, and they told him, when you note your pain, you don't have to note it like seeing it, how it changed, how it pulling and all that. You just know it as you just know pain only. You don't worry about how we move and all that, change and so on. Because the Dasana was saying that, when he was reporting to them, he was saying that my pain was pulling here, telling here, and then it changed in this way and that way. Then they say, oh, no need. When it comes to pain, no need to do all those things. You just have to watch the pain. Then you know their method of their meditation already. You know the method of their meditation. That means they are not exercising the part of wisdom. That means they are this one. So in this time, and they call themselves a Vipassana meditation. It's also a Mahasi meditation part. So too bad. And the way they taught is just like that. Rising, falling, rising, falling. You don't have to see long, short, fast, long. All need. This is what's happening in the real world, right now, So that's why it is important that for us to understand this faculty and this power together. So in the next talk, we're going to look into all these things a little bit more. We're going to look into it a little bit more, and we're going to see into the practical aspect of it. Okay? So we stop here. So we stop here for tonight. So the next talk on Wednesday,